Alright, hey everyone, what's up? It's Hana, your girl, and I have a new video for you guys today, and this is also the same day that I am also announcing the 3 winners of my giveaway that I announced last week, which was the giveaway for the Sword Art Online Ordinal Scale tickets, and I will announce that at the end of the video. But for now, for this video though, I'm going to be doing my top 5 saddest moments in anime. At least the ones that I feel were the saddest moments. So some of these moments don't have to be necessarily sad, but I just truly felt for the characters. So I feel like I'm so close to like the screen. Maybe this is better. Sorry, I was adjusting my camera and then I realized when I pressed record that it was kind of close. But anyway, I chose 5 different things from different animes that I felt were pretty sad moments that either made me cry or just made me really feel for the characters. And I do apologize that there are probably going to be some spoilers in this video, because it's hard not to spoil a series if you're talking about a sad moment, because usually it's a pivotal moment in the series. So let's get started. And it's already in no particular order, so don't feel like I went from the least sad to the saddest. I'm literally just going based off of just what I feel. So number 1, I have to go with in Naruto, when after Naruto had beat Pain, and he kind of did a little bit of a like a flashback to when he was younger and how he was thoroughly treated. That was to me one of the saddest moments, and to me the moment wasn't sad as far as when, like, as you watching it. To me it was a sad moment when he was watching all the kids when they first started school and seeing all the kids with their parents, and he was sitting on the swing by himself because of course at this point his parents were dead, and he didn't understand really continually what happened, and he also didn't understand why people were treating him the way that they were. So that for me was pretty sad, because anyone that has felt alone or felt away from their peers has probably felt this before. Not saying that anybody's parents are no longer around, but just in general. So if your peers ever left you out, if you ever treated a certain way based for a reason that you yourself don't particularly understand, it can definitely hurt you. And that's what I definitely felt that for Naruto in that particular moment. Number 2 is I have to go with Anohana, and if you haven't seen Anohana, definitely watch it. And Anohana, for me the saddest moment in that series was towards the end of the series, where literally like maybe the last 2 episodes, and it was where the main character got all his friends together, because in Anohana, one of the Menma, she comes back. She's the young girl in the series, and she comes back as a ghost, and basically she's there because she wants her last wish to kind of be fulfilled, but her friends have kind of all gone their separate ways after her death, and they're a lot older now, but Menma still has like that mind of like a 3 or 4-year-old, since that was how old she was when she actually passed. And one of the biggest things is that they love to play like hide and seek, and the saddest part was how she ended up communicating with a majority of them. One of them could actually see her, the other ones could not, but they could read her writing, so she was able to write like a ghost writer, I guess is what you want to put it. And towards the end of the series they start playing hide and seek to find her, and they find her, and it's kind of like their last moments to actually really truly say their goodbyes. And she's sitting against a tree, and all she says is, "You found me," and she's crying, and her friends are crying, and I literally was a mess because I was crying the entire time, because it was just so cute, and it just makes you feel like if you've ever lost a friend to anything, if you could get that one moment back to actually say goodbye. And that for me was truly a sad moment. Number 3 is what I'm on now. So number 3, I'm gonna have to go with Angel Beats. And Angel Beats was overall just a sad series in general, because you learned a lot of these kids' backstories when they were in purgatory. So in Angel Beats you have a group of kids that basically are in like a high school, but they're in this weird realm between real life and basically going to the afterlife, so they're in limbo right now, and a lot of them feel very jaded because of the fact that, you know, some of them do, some of them are there because they want to fulfill their last dreams before they're able to pass on, which is the reason why they're in limbo. And then some of the characters, one of them in particular, is particularly jaded and upset because of the reason why she passed, and very upset regarding, sorry, that was my phone, and she's very upset about that. So she's mad at God per se, as far as for what happened to her family, and then subsequently later on happened to her. And the sad moment for that was the end of the series, when a lot of the kids were learning how they were able to pass on. So one of the main characters ends up taking it upon himself to help every one of these kids to pass on. And one of them in particular, they did call Angel, that you found out later on in her series, her name was Kaede. And they start to get very, very close, and you learn the reason why they're a little bit close, and they kind of subsequently kind of fall in love with each other. But of course they cannot be together, but they do learn their connection to each other throughout the course of the series. And the saddest part was them having to say goodbye, and when Kaede ultimately does pass on and does ultimately go to the afterlife, and the main character does decide to stay there to help other kids go to other kids to pass on, because he feels like that's what he's meant to do. And then towards the end of the series, you kind of see where they are reincarnated per se, and they happen to pass each other, and the last scene that you see is him reaching out to her because he kind of recognizes her. And that to me was a sad moment to watch, but it also was a heavily made you think kind of a moment, and kind of made you happy and to wonder if they were able to rekindle what happened before. So number 4 is, I have to go with from Clannad After Story. And Clannad in general, this series, the first season and the second season, which is After Story, had so many sad moments. But Clannad After Story to me had one of the sad moments for me was when Tomoya takes Ushio out on a trip. And originally it was supposed to be So it was supposed to be Nagisa's mom that was supposed to go, but Nagisa's mom ended up making up an excuse, which forced Tomoya to take his daughter by himself. And this was after, spoiler, after Nagisa's death in the second series, and so he did like a 5-year time skip. And while Ushio and Tomoya are on this trip, you know, Ushio does not know how to react around her dad, because it's been years since she's actually seen him, so she doesn't really know who he is. And while they're on this trip, Tomoya comes across his paternal grandmother, whom he ends up talking to. And Tomoya and his own dad never really had the best relationship, especially after his mom passed. And so once he talked to his grandmother, he realized why his dad was the way he was, and he realized that he had became his dad after the death of Nagisa. And he ends up finding his daughter, because I guess she like ran off or whatever, and he ends up kind of wanting to rekindle that relationship with her. And Ushio's she wants to cry, but she's not sure exactly why, and so she asks Tomoya if she can cry, and Tomoya's kind of like, yeah, and she's just like, asks her why, and Ushio goes, well, Grandma Sanade said that I can only cry in 2 places. And he says, well, where are those places? And she says, the bathroom. And he's like, what's the second place? And she's like, in Daddy's arms. And he just breaks down, and she breaks down, and they start hugging and crying. And I was just like, oh my god, I just completely lost it in that moment, because I'm super close to my own dad. So I was like, I literally felt for that. And then number 5 is actually from the show Tokyo Magnitude 8.0, and this series was based off of was about an earthquake happening in Tokyo. And this was, I think this show came out after the big earthquake and tsunami that did happen in Japan. And in this series, you have a brother and sister that end up getting basically trapped away from home, and they're trying to find their way home after the earthquake. And towards the end of the series, you start seeing some weird symptoms regarding her brother starts to get sick, and then her brother does ultimately pass away. But you don't realize this in the series, because how they did it was they made it where the little girl, I guess, couldn't accept his death at that moment. and he is kind of like a ghost, but she's the only one that can kind of see him. And so, but how she's reacting to it is that she's acting like he's actually there. And it's not until she makes it truly back home, and she's back home in their apartment, that her brother kind of just starts to say goodbye, and she's not understanding it. And then she does a flashback, and she realizes that he did really actually pass away. And the little boy says, well, I promised to help us or help you get back home, and that's why that he was still around. So it's like this weird ghost thing, and that's why he says I told myself I was gonna help you to get back home. And then of course I was like bawling at this point. And then what further made me cry was later on in the series, was definitely like the last episode, where she ends up getting his backpack back because she forgets his backpack, and the young lady that they were traveling with brings her backpack home. And once he gets his backpack, she opens it and her old cell phone's in there, and she's able to turn it on. And earlier in the series, she threw her phone, and because she was so upset, and her brother went and got it for her, and they had gotten into like a weird argument or whatever. And so she opens up the phone, she finds a text message from her brother that her brother had written. Of course he can't send it because it's her phone, but he wrote like a little note, and in the note he writes like, you know, I'm sorry, and just like apologizes to her, and then says how much he loves her and how much he really cares about her. And she of course starts to cry because that's her little brother. And now I'm about to cry talking about all these sad series. I am such a softie. But overall, those were the 5 saddest series for me, or the 5 saddest moments for me. And as you can see, they were sad because I'm literally like about to cry, and I wasn't supposed to cry during this. But anyway, let's get to something happy. And that is the winners of my giveaway. And you have until, I say, Monday to contact me. I'll leave your names below in the description box for whom I picked. And then one of you guys I can actually contact via YouTube. So I'll probably contact you probably before this video comes out, and let you guys know that you won. The other 2 I don't have a way. So the winners are, I have their names on my laptop. Sevelswab. I don't know how to pronounce your YouTube name, but it's spelled SEVOLSYOB. And that is literally how your username is spelled. You are winner number 1. Winner number 2 is Otakus for Life. You're winner number 2, and winner number 3 is In Nature Heartbeat is number 3. So you guys contact me as soon as possible, and I will, with your email, contact me as soon as possible with your names and your email addresses. I'll also leave a link down below, my email address, for you guys to send me that information, and then I'll send the information that is needed. All right, you guys, have a good day, and bye. Hey you guys, so I know I didn't get the chance to end my video like I usually do. My dad was knocking on my door. So if you heard a knocking, that was my dad knocking on my door while I was recording the video, and I couldn't exactly scream and tell him I was recording a video. But anyway, thanks you guys so much for checking out my video, and like always, don't forget to pursue your dreams. You never know what's gonna happen, so no matter how crazy it is, definitely always go for it. And like always, give this video a thumbs up, and of course subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll leave links down below in the description box for my social media accounts. All right, you guys, so yeah, talk to you guys soon.